A genuine tale of betrayal. My sister asked me to reveal my tool while we were alone in the room. I recall that evening when my sister's voice erupted with intensity. What seems to be the issue? I found myself engrossed in a captivating show surrounded by a breathtaking backdrop. "Hey John, where are you at? I need assistance. What seems to be the issue?" Filled with a sense of urgency, as though an emergency were unfolding, I sprang to my feet and inquired, "What's the matter?" Her voice resonated from the restroom, filled with disbelief. I realized I had left my clothes behind. "Could you please head up to my room and retrieve them for me?" My sister was a kind and caring woman, though she often struggled with her memory. She had asked me to buy things for her before, but this time felt unique. I ascended to my room. She searched for the clothes she had forgotten and carried them down to the restroom. As I knocked, she swung the door open wider than normal, hurriedly extending her hands to gather the clothes. In that fleeting instant, the bathroom light illuminated her fair skin, showcasing every contour of her body that took me by surprise. Overwhelmed, I averted my gaze in haste, yet my heart raced and my eyes remained fixated on the image. Ever since that day, I, John, have experienced a profound change within my heart. She remained my sister and the person I felt closest to in the house, yet the eerie, unsettling sensation from that moment persisted, pulling me into a downward spiral of negative thoughts. I found myself uncertain about how to face her or even my own feelings. This year, my sister Anne celebrated her 24th birthday. She is an extraordinary and self-assured woman who captivates the attention of everyone in her vicinity. Her figure is slender, her face is delicate, and above all, her captivating waist is impossible to overlook. Embracing her free-spirited style, she often opts for form-fitting outfits. Whether she's at home or out and about, those costumes accentuate her beauty in a way that captivates me. Intentional or not, they make my heart race each time I catch a glimpse. My heart has changed since that night I caught a glimpse of her in the bathroom through the half-open door. The soft yellow glow dancing on her fair skin, coupled with the glistening water cascading over her curves, created an indelible memory for me. I'm aware that these events shouldn't have happened, and certainly shouldn't have stayed in my mind for this long. Yet that feeling, that fixation, lingers like a ghost, haunting me endlessly. Initially, I attempted to reassure myself that this too would fade away and that the vision was merely a random occurrence. Yet each night, as I settled into bed, the images from the day replayed in my mind with striking clarity. There were moments when I'd find myself jolted awake in the dead of night, beads of cold sweat trickling down my forehead, battling against the unwelcome thoughts creeping into my mind. Yet, the harder I fought, the more intense those emotions became. Each day felt like a blaze consuming my logic. She carried on happily in our cozy home, blissfully ignorant of the turmoil brewing within me. She laughed and joked with me as always, her familiar clear voice ringing in my ears. What once felt ordinary now sparked something deeper within me as I gazed into her sparkling eyes and caught a whiff of the lovely perfume she wore, filling my heart with unexpected emotions. I can't explain why I felt this way. I felt completely disconnected from who I truly was. Her fitted attire added a layer of challenge as she settled onto the sofa, legs elegantly crossed while watching TV, or when she gathered her hair up, showcasing her graceful neck and bare shoulders. Every detail left me in a whirlwind of mixed emotions. I experienced a deep sense of humiliation and shame, accompanied by an undeniable longing, all while striving to maintain a facade of calmness. I engaged in conversation and shared laughter with her as though everything was perfectly normal. I assisted her with small household tasks, engaged in light conversation about everyday matters, and playfully teased her from time to time. I longed to witness her smile, yet beneath those exchanges lay a silent struggle that I never anticipated would find resolution. I avoided gazing into her eyes for too long, worried she might sense that something was amiss with me. After a long day, I chose to unwind in my room with a film for grown-ups. This wasn't my first experience with this, but perhaps due to my fluctuating mood and recent chaotic thoughts, everything appeared more alluring than ever before. After watching, I collapsed onto the bed, lost in a haze, the vivid images and emotions clinging to me until a sharp knock on the door snapped me back to reality. "Hey John, step outside with me for a bit and let's grab some vegetables for dinner." Her remarks consistently blended a sense of urgency with a touch of gentleness. I replied affirmatively, asking for a moment, and swiftly got to my feet, adjusting my attire while momentarily overlooking the fact that I wasn't wearing any underwear as I made my way to the living room. Anne's image instantly captured my focus. She wore a fitted t-shirt that accentuated her slender waist and short shorts that showcased her long, fair legs. The flawless lines left me momentarily speechless, my mind drifting into a haze. The thoughts I had attempted to suppress surged forward like a powerful tide, creating an unusual feeling. The rose in my heart embodied a blend of admiration and confusion that eluded my understanding. I made an effort to stay composed and push aside the whirlwind of emotions surging within me as I drew closer to her, yet my body betrayed my intentions. I could sense my little man stirring, and to complicate things further, I had entirely overlooked the fact that I wasn't wearing any underwear. My whole body seemed to turn against my mind, thrusting me into an uncomfortable and uncontrollable predicament. And then she erupted into laughter, her voice ringing out through the quiet hall. Her gaze met mine, brimming with an indescribable emotion. I was completely baffled by what had her in stitches. What seems to be the issue? Is there anything amusing? I attempted to mask my astonishment, yet her laughter only grew louder, compelling her to turn away to escape my gaze. "John, heading out like this isn't in your best interest," she exclaimed, stifling a giggle behind her hand. I stood frozen in the living room, a statue caught in a moment, while she laughed softly. I inquired, "What seems to be the issue? Did I do something amusing?" "Yet," she shook her head, striving to mask her embarrassment. "No, it's just fine. Head on up to the upper level." "I'll go alone," she said, her voice tinged with hesitation and gravity, as if trying to mask an underlying truth. I found myself standing there, utterly perplexed as I gazed at her. What was her initial motivation for inviting me to join her? Simply guide her to go by herself? Though I had my doubts, I found myself at a loss for other questions to pose. As I stepped back into the room, my mind was a whirlwind of thoughts. As I walked by the mirror, my gaze lingered, and I suddenly understood what had sparked her laughter. I wasn't wearing any undergarments, and my son had been proudly displaying his flag for some time. My face flushed with embarrassment. I found myself frozen, engulfed in embarrassment, and uncertain about my next move. Her laughter lingered in my mind. "Were you unaware of that?" Clearly she did, otherwise she wouldn't have laughed so heartily. Why didn't she just come out and say it? What prompted her to quietly request that I go? Upon re-entering the room, a flurry of questions emerged, quickening my heartbeat. Was she merely amused by the funny scenario, or was there something deeper at play? I collapsed onto the bed, my hands shielding my face, yearning to escape the unsettling sensation. Yet, the image of Anne, her joyful laughter, and that peculiar sense of disorientation lingered on. I found myself questioning whether she held the same feelings for me as I did for her, or if my insecurities were merely a matter of chance. Regret consumed my heart. Yet, amidst it all, a glimmer of hope emerged, and upon returning home, she occupied my thoughts incessantly. Embarrassment lingered from the recent incident, and though I couldn't be certain, it felt as if she had caught a glimpse of something amusing moments before. The more I pondered, the hotter my cheeks felt, as though I had been discovered in a moment of wrongdoing. Still, I reminded myself to remain composed and carry on as if everything was perfectly normal. My sister and I headed to the kitchen to whip up dinner, aiming to capture our usual vibe. Upon entering, I immediately voiced my thoughts as I always do. Your back is present. Is the market bustling with activity? And chose not to look back. She responded succinctly, saying it's fine, though it feels a bit crowded. Please step inside and lend me a hand. I approached her as she diligently washed the vegetables, nodding in acknowledgement. I took a seat and began to separate each vegetable branch for her to get ready for boiling. The atmosphere was serene, punctuated only by the gentle trickle of water from the sink faucet, yet within me, the tension continued to bubble just beneath the surface. I was uncertain whether she truly recognized what had just occurred or if I was merely complicating matters. I figured that if I kept it to myself, everything would eventually fade away. At that precise moment, her voice pierced the air, causing me to tense up. "Have you finished yet?" I was absolutely taken aback. Her words struck me like a sudden blow, sending my already fragile mind reeling. Although I grasped her implication, I lacked the courage to confront it. My entire body went rigid, caught in a moment of uncertainty. My heart raced, yet I feigned ignorance about her meaning. I've successfully completed the task of breaking it. It should be fine, don't you think? She glanced my way, her eyes sparkling with mischief and an air of unpredictability. With a gentle smile, she offered a subtle nod. "If you're finished, just leave it as is. I'm ready to proceed." Her voice was perfectly ordinary, yet there was an unusual undertone in her words, part teasing, part playful, that left me feeling intensely embarrassed. I remained silent, simply nodding as I stood up and made my way upstairs. "Keep going." Feeling a bit weary, I offered a faint smile and chose to say nothing further. I slipped out of the kitchen, attempting to maintain a casual demeanor, but my heart raced with chaos as I returned to my room. I fell onto the bed, overwhelmed by a wave of shame and embarrassment. Her question reverberated in my mind, leaving me to ponder whether she truly understood my thoughts. I collapsed onto the bed, my hands shielding my face, overwhelmed by a swirl of confusion and helplessness. I must exercise self-control. This is my sister, and she is indeed my sister. I echoed it as a gentle reminder, yet the vivid image of her in the kitchen, her radiant smile, and her playful voice lingered in my mind. After dinner that night, I found myself unable to escape. I headed back to my room to tidy up the clutter accumulating in the corner of my desk. The stillness enveloped the room, broken only by the gentle chirping of insects outside the window. As I was tidying up my books, a gentle knock at the door caught my attention. "Who could it be?" I inquired, my tone tinged with curiosity. "It's just me." Anne's voice resonated with a gentle and comforting familiarity. "Could you assist me with a little something?" I responded promptly. "No issue at all. What do you need?" As I continued my conversation, I moved closer and swung the door open. As Anne stood before me, my attention was immediately drawn to her pajamas. The nightgown was a soft, light blue silk, gracefully complementing her flawless white skin with its delicate allure. The dress showcased a daring deep V-neck, elegantly highlighting her collarbone and slender shoulders. My heart raced, yet I worked to keep a composed facade. With a beaming smile, she stepped into the room, her phone tightly in hand. "There seems to be an issue with my phone. I can't pinpoint the reason it crashes each time I launch the program. I attempted a restart, but unfortunately, it was ineffective. Could you assist me, please?" I nodded and accepted the phone from her hand. "Allow me to give it a shot. It's probably just a software glitch, like an app conflict or an operating system update, and it remained as natural as ever." Her presence in this small area, particularly in her pajamas, left me feeling perplexed. I glanced at my phone and began exploring the settings. As anticipated, her operating system was outdated and incompatible with the latest version of the application. I clarified that your phone requires an upgrade to its operating system. I'll download the latest update, reinstall it, and everything will be good to go. "Oh, is that so? What a relief. I feared it might be damaged." Her voice was gentle and soothing as I leaned down, grappling with the download. I sensed her gaze in the update. I stole a quick glance at her from the corner of my eye. Her gaze wasn't fixed on the phone or my actions. Instead, her eyes were directed down at me. In that moment, she flashed a smile, enigmatic and elusive, leaving me puzzled and intrigued. I took a moment to collect myself, masking my embarrassment, yet internally, my confusion was multiplying rapidly. I recognized that expression, understood what she had just witnessed, yet I couldn't bring myself to confront it or articulate it. I responded, striving to maintain an air of composure, yet beneath the surface, I was acutely aware that this tranquility was merely a mask. Her appearance and delicate gestures today stirred a wave of emotions that I struggled to keep in check. Once I handed Anne her phone back, believing our interaction had come to a close, I got ready to rise and watch her exit the room. Before I could speak, she turned back, leaning in. "Did I ask if something was wrong?" From across the table, she inquired, her voice soft yet filled with significance. "Do I look beautiful?" John, that surprise question left me pondering the best way to respond. I offered a hesitant smile, searching for a way to divert his attention. "Isn't it just stunning? What's prompted your sudden curiosity about that? Is everything okay? And SM, that's the reason you gave a salute." Her words struck me like a thunderbolt, sending a rush of blood to my face, my heart racing, leaving my entire body in a state of confusion, unsure of how to respond. I swiftly shook my head and rejected the notion right away. "No, it's not like that at all. What's on your mind?" Yet her gaze remained fixed on me, and that subtle smile only deepened my embarrassment. With each deliberate step, she drew nearer, creating an illusion that the confines of this small room were closing in around us. I took a step back, attempting to maintain my space, but in an instant she surged forward, gripping my shoulders with both hands, her face mere centimeters from mine. "John, what are you afraid of? As two adults, I can sense your thoughts. I've witnessed it all." I averted my gaze, unwilling to meet her eyes. "So, what exactly are you referring to?" "Enough with the jokes. This isn't amusing yet," she continued, inching closer and closer. I could feel her warm breath on my neck, intensifying my nerves like never before. "John, what's with the distance between us?" "I know you want me to." Anna's voice was gentle, yet her words cut through the silence like a blade, slicing into my thoughts. The atmosphere grew heavy, and my heart raced, pounding fiercely as if it might burst free from my chest. "Don't say it," I urged, my voice quivering yet firm enough to halt the looming threat. I took a step back, putting space between us, my gaze fixed on her. "Do you realize what you're saying? This is as wrong, and you're my sister." Her eyes flashed with pain for a minute. She moved forward, her voice low and almost begging. "John, stop lying to yourself. I could see everything in your eyes. You do not need to hide or fake your emotions." I felt my entire body freeze, but my mind was powerful enough to resist. I took a deep breath, trying to remain calm in the midst of my confusion and anxiety. "No, you're wrong. I don't think like that. I don't want that. We are brothers. We are family." She halted, her face full of misery and guilt. Her eyes searched mine for a signal to continue, but I remained focused, determined not to let her go any further. Finally, she averted her gaze as if she did not dare to confront the truth. Her voice lowered to a sorrowful whisper. "I'm sorry. I'm not sure why I'm like this. Maybe I should go back to my room." She turned away. Each slow stride seemed to drag the unpleasant atmosphere that remained in the room after the door was closed. I collapsed on the bed, feeling as if I'd just escaped a big hurricane. My mind was in complete pandemonium, with no way out. Anne's remarks kept repeating in my mind, and each term and word seemed to penetrate deep into my soul. She said I didn't have to pretend to want her. Those statements appeared to betray the feelings I had tried to suppress. Even I was reluctant to admit she was correct. I couldn't deny that after several seemingly unintentional encounters, I had bad sentiments about her. But my reason was strong enough to remind me that she was my sister, and we could never cross that line. I recognized how dangerous this situation was. Her every word and action tonight had demolished the fragile barrier between us. If I didn't stay rational, if I let myself go even once, everything would fall apart, beyond repair. I sat in the empty room, my heart pounding with sorrow. I wasn't sure who to blame, her or myself, for letting things get this far. That night, I was unable to sleep. I lay in bed, staring at the black ceiling, reflecting on what had happened in just one day. My relationship with her had shifted tremendously. I remembered her eyes, her smile, and the conflicting hidden words. She was the person I had always admired and felt was closest to me. But now, everything was so complicated that I couldn't face the notion of what would happen tomorrow. If I stayed here, would I eventually lose control of myself? And I came to realize that no matter how powerful human emotions can be, they can't withstand temptation if left unchecked. The situation felt too close, too familiar, and frankly, too frightening. I worried that without creating some distance, all boundaries would blur completely. After a long night of contemplation, I resolved to take a bold step. I understood that the only way to safeguard myself from making an irreversible mistake was to leave. I needed to distance myself to prevent these emotions from surfacing. This wasn't just a solution for the moment. It was essential for protecting our cherished family bonds. The next morning, as the family gathered for breakfast, I chose to share my decision. My tone was serious, yet conflicted. "Mom and Dad, I think I'm going to move out." My father set down his teacup, looking at me in surprise. "Why do you suddenly want to go? You're still in your youth. Wouldn't it be easier to just stay home? Is everything okay?" My mother gazed at me, her eyes filled with concern. "Is something wrong, John? Do you find yourself feeling uncomfortable in your own space? I'm eager to hear your thoughts, so please don't hold back." I tried to smile to win over my parents, even though I was feeling a mix of emotions. I explained to them that I've grown up and need to embrace my independence. I truly believe that stepping out on my own will teach me how to manage life and better prepare me for the future. My father furrowed his brow, deep in thought, but eventually nodded in agreement. He said, "If this is your decision, we will support it. However, if you encounter any challenges, please reach out to us right away. You can always come back home." He then turned to my mother, who looked worried but didn't voice any objections. "Make sure to take care of yourself. Do you need help with finding a place, moving your things, or anything else?" I knew this was the best decision for Anne and myself. I needed time and space to process these emotions in order to be myself again and keep the family together. After all I had been through, I learned an important lesson. Emotions are challenging to manage, but not impossible. Moments of weakness can enable us to become swept up in hazy emotions, easily crossing the line of morality and family connections. Yet being conscious of right and wrong and keeping sensible are key aspects in preventing permanent mistakes. I believe that sharing your feelings is not wrong, but understanding how to set proper limits is sometimes important. Distance was built not to flee, but to protect more essential ideas: love, respect, and self-esteem. The most significant lesson I learned is that courage is not only about facing problems, but also about knowing when to walk away in order to save the finest things. The decision to leave a dangerous situation is not a sign of weakness, but rather a necessary one, to keep yourself and those around you from being harmed by the story. I have some advice for everyone. In life, we cannot avoid unforeseen events that trigger uncontrollable emotions. These emotions, whether momentary or long-lasting, might lead to mistakes if we don't know how to handle them properly. As a result, my advice is to always be smart and aware of boundaries in all interactions. When you find yourself caught up in an uncontrollable emotional spiral, pause and ask yourself, is this emotion worth sacrificing for precious possessions? Mindfulness and self-reflection can help you recognize how acting on your emotions can jeopardize values you care about, such as familial bonds, honor, or self-esteem. If you are having trouble restraining yourself, do not be afraid to remove yourself or seek assistance from family, friends, or a mental health professional. Avoidance is not a sign of weakness, but rather a tactic for protecting yourself from more serious damage. Remember that the decisions you make today can affect both your own and others' futures. Maintaining boundaries and adhering to your views and principles is the most effective way to live a peaceful and happy life. My story ends here. Thank you for hearing my story. See you in the following videos.